So I feel like it's super crucial, like you were talking about, to whatever talents you have or how many bags you have. You say you have 5, I probably feel like I have like 2 or 3.
Sure.
But whatever it is, to be able to multiply it and be fruitful with it, because you don't want to hide it, right?
At
what age were you doing this?
Well, I was doing real estate at 25. I was not doing as much as you were doing at 25. So that's what I mean. Your trajectory is different. So that's what a lot of people look at is, they look at, oh man, he's where I want to be or whatever. But like the trajectory that you're on for your age is insane.
Okay.
And so I look at that too, like with different guys, and like, a lot of people didn't even make their first million before they're 30 years old. Like the odds of you doing that is very likely. You know what I mean?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I mean, it's not really so much about like making the 1 million. Do you want me to hold this?
Sure.
It's not really so much about making the 1 million for me. I think for me, like, the biggest thing, I mean, as you know, I'm married, I have kids.
Yep.
And I think I look at that and I think about like, dude, I not only owe it to like myself, but also to my wife and kids to do like the very best that I can.
Yep.
Because if I don't, I'm going to be doing a big disservice. Because I feel like I've been given much by God, like as talents and things like that, that I need to give back.
Yep.
So I love to give back as much as I can.
That's awesome. Dude, I'm going to tell you this story that I literally just with everything that you just said. So you got the parable of the talents, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's the one that like is one of my favorite stories that Jesus told. You have the 1 bag, the 3 bags, and the 5 bags that was given to them by their master, right? The guy with 5 bags comes back and he brings 5 more back, and he's like, master, you gave me this, you entrusted me with this, and here's 5 more. Look, I doubled it. Same thing with the 3. Now, one other thing I forgot to mention was the master said, well done, good and faithful servant. Then the person with the 3 bags does the same thing. Hey, look, master, you gave me 3. I have 3 more. The interesting thing about that is the master was no more impressed or no more like satisfied. He said, well done, good and faithful servant, than the person that did 5. They technically did more. They have more, but they were also given more. Now, the person with 1, those are the people who took the talent and then they buried it. So he buried the talent and he said, look, I knew you were a hard man and a hard, master. And he blamed it on him of the reasons of why he wasn't successful. He buried his talent. And so I feel exactly the same way that you feel. I remember Andy Stanley, he's a Christian pastor. He said that we're all 3 baggers in a way. There's a lot of people with more and there's a lot of people with less. I feel very similar to how you feel, where it's a big responsibility, because I feel like I was given 5 bags. I feel like God gave me a lot of gifts. And so at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's not about anything. It's about like, I've been given a lot and I feel like it's my responsibility to like honor God and use the talents that I was given.
Yeah, one big thing that, I really can take from that is just the fact of like, trying to grow yourself and really trying to build on that, right? I feel like growing up, it wasn't really, easy for me. I feel like one thing that I told our friend here is, the fact that I think he's doing an awesome job. And the reason I say that is because I feel like a lot of times growing up, I didn't have that. I didn't have somebody to be there to say, hey, you're doing good, like keep going. So I feel like it's super crucial, like you were talking about, to whatever talents you have or how many bags you have. You say you have 5, I probably feel like I have like 2 or 3.
Sure.
But whatever it is, to be able to multiply it and be fruitful with it, because you don't want to hide it, right? And at the end of the day, like you may have 5, I have 3, but at the end of the day, like as long as I can do my very best and do, to just multiply that, I think that's really valid, and I think that's super, crucial for us to think that way and not be fearful. It doesn't matter if you have less, if you have more, as long as you can do like the best that you can with the, current resources that you have. I think that's really what counts. But I think it's hard to get to that point, though, is what I'm trying to get at. Because as a kid, I didn't think that way. I always thought like, I'm not good enough. I'm not gonna make it. It's not me. And now I know for a fact that I am the one, and that's like a really powerful thing, because like the mindset that just changes, it's like this light bulb that just goes off. You know what I mean?
That's freaking awesome. I love it. All right, let's get into an interview.
Oh, was that not it?
That was not it, but that's good.
Were you filming that?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we're going to have it all, but that was not the interview. All right.
I'm going to look dumb if you ask me about KPIs. But.
No worries. I'm not going to ask you too much about KPIs. It's mostly going to be just different stuff that you know.
Is this real estate, or what is this about?
Yeah, dude, just let me ask the question. He's like, all right, is this going to be this? Hey, don't ask me about this. Hey.
I don't know why.
He's like, hey, don't ask me about this. What's it going to be about this? All right.
I'm going to look dumb, but all right, let's do it.
All right, so tell us about who you are, what market you're in, and like your current experience in real estate.
Yeah, so my name is Bryan Villarreal. I'm based out of San Antonio, Texas.
Wow.
So yeah, there's two L's, and the two L's is a ya sound, and the two R's is a rrr sound. So it's so it's Villarreal, right?
Ooh.
That's my last name. So don't say Villarreal, because that's not the right way to say it.
How do we say it?
Villarreal.
What if I can't?
Just say V.
V.
Just say Bryan V.
Bryan V, baby.
There you go. Real estate, right? You had asked.
Yeah, where are you from? And then
Okay.
what's your, like, what are you doing right now?
Great. So I'm based out of San Antonio. This is my first year doing this full time, and I'm mainly focusing on just doing wholesale. I don't do any fix and flip. I don't have any, or I do have some rent. I have two doors that I own. I'm gonna list them on market and sell this next week because I really just want to focus all in on just being able to just do mainly wholesale. That's what I do. What markets else? I mean, because I was gonna tell you too, right? I'm based out of my city. However, if you look at like my deal chart, I probably have like 2 or 3 deals there. Most of my deals are elsewhere. I mean, I have some in like Memphis. I have some in like Decatur, Indiana, Broken Arrow, Tulsa. So I like to just do wholesale like where the deals are at, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. And at the end of the day, I look at this as just really sales and marketing. I'm not buying anything. I'm not closing or fixing and flipping.
Yep.
I'm just really doing my best to do good sales and good marketing and getting them at a right price and then putting them on market. So that way the market finds the buyer for me. That's a lot easier.
What got you interested in doing this in the first place?
Oh my gosh, great question. So back in 2020, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep.
And back in 2020, it was my first year being married. My wife was she was in college full time, and I was working full time. I had just came home from a 2-year missionary trip.
Wow.
Okay, so at that point, I read that book, and I was just like, this like veil has been like taken off of my eyes. Like I can see more clearly now. And my thing that I really thought back then was the way to wealth is by buying rentals and holding long term. So what did I do? 2020, after I read that book, I got my first credit card. Got credit for the first time ever. I didn't have any of that. And by the way, at this time, I was 21 years old.
Wow.
Right? So then I went ahead and did that. And then after a few months, I built some credit. And then my wife and I closed on our first house, our primary residence, at 22 years old.
Right.
And then after that, like I said, my mindset was I need to buy rentals.
Mm-hmm.
So then I saved up an extra $20K, and we looked in the Midwest.
How'd you save up to $20K?
Great question. So my wife and I, back then, we had sheets, and we would like budget every single thing to the penny.
Okay.
And we were super cheap with the way that we lived. So I was working a 9 to 5, making like 18, 20 bucks an hour, doing truck sales at this truck shop for tonneau covers or like hamper shells. And so I would save up as much as I can. Like we wouldn't even go out. We wouldn't blow any money. It was just like cheap. Like just month to month. It was like save as much as we can.
Dave Ramsey.
And per month, I think we had like maybe like $50 of like play money. And so that was our like, let's go out on a date. Let's go eat some Chick-fil-A because we didn't have that much money.
Chick-fil-A because he's a Christian.
No, because it's good. That's the Lord's chicken, okay? It's good. So that's how we saved up. It was just like trying to just get as many little dimes as we can just to save them all up. And then after that, I put about $19,000 down, got 20% on a loan, a duplex in Cleveland, which I thought, like I said, it was like the way to wealth is by buying rentals. In hindsight, big mistake. I mean, I don't think you should be buying rentals when that's like your last 20 that you have.
Yep.
Right? And so that's how I got into it. That's kind of where I like learned about all of this. And then I had a huge mindset shift, but we can get into that if you want.
Let's get into your mindset shift, and then I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay, cool. So as I got that one, right, I think I bought it for $77K. It was 2 units. Each side was renting out $850. One was $900. And my PITI, which is my principal interest, taxes, and insurance, was $486 to Chase Bank.
Wow.
I had a 4.5 rate on that one. So it wasn't good. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great at the end because...
Is that a 30-year loan?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
And I put $19K down. But here's the thing, though, right? I don't think you really factor in the true net cash flow. Mm-hmm. And I thought that I was, because I was saying 10% for vacancy, for maintenance. However, I did something that was super wrong. I bought that home with current renters in place. Mm-hmm. Don't ever do that. Mm. I mean, these guys, they were on time paying until I bought it. I bought it, and then like a few months went by where like I was trying to work with them. I was trying to like play nice. They had kids, I was like, dude, I'm not just gonna like try to throw somebody out. one thing led to the next thing. It wound up being like 2 or 3 months like that.
Wow.
And then they finally got out. Both sides were just trashed. So I had to then dump in like an extra like $2,000 on each side to kind of clean it up and fix up even more.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, like I was saying, like I was like thinking and I was like breaking my head on the wall saying, so my plan was for the next 10 years to buy one of these per year. Holy cow, like, dude, I'm going to be like 30 something and I'm going to like, I'm just going to get some kind of cash flow at that point. But I said, why? Like, that's going to take way too long. And then by this time, I was doing more research online, I looked up Jerry Norton.
Yep.
Those kind of videos popped up. Jerry Norton, Ryan, who else? Like Brent Daniels.
Yep.
And I found out about flipping and then also wholesaling. And I was like, what's this? Mm-hmm. So then that's where like the whole, and this is in 2022 now, mind you. So 2022 is when I was like really digging into all this, how to do this and how it's an assignment and how to find a lead and how to do cold calling. And then toward the end of that year, I was trying to do my very best to get, deals on my own. I think I did maybe like 2 or 3 deals on my own. And by the way, it was so bad, guys, that at one of my first deals, I was going to make a $5K assignment fee. And I went to some other wholesaler who was going to help me find the buyer. And at the end, I got paid outside of closing via Cash App. I got paid $500.
Oh, wow.
So what did he do, guys? He took the whole deal essentially and just gave me $500 for a finder's fee. When he told me we were going to do half and half and you locked up, good job. So like, I didn't know, guys, and you don't know what you don't know, right? So then at the end of that year, I find out about the whole like Tyke Summit WealthCon thing. And I have a great friend. His name's Evan Price. I'm sure you know him.
I've heard that.
Okay, great. So he was like, hey man, I'm going to give you a free ticket to come out to WealthCon. Do you want to come? And I was like, nah, it's not for me. It's not my thing. I don't want to pay somebody coaching. Like I have never paid for coaching. Mm-hmm. So that's not my thing. But I think the whole mindset shift was when I was watching those videos by Jerry Norton, by Bryan Daniels, by Ryan about trying to do like more active income. Yep. And then I really learned about the whole like fact that passive income is when you have those tax, those complications when you need to have those write-offs. Right. So that's where my mindset was shifted from right there and saying, why am I trying to do this in 10 years when I can try to do this in 5? Yep. So then, came to the whole Tykes thing, joined coaching program, and now here I am 10 months later.
That's freaking awesome. All right, there's a lot to unpack there, so we're just going to skip it all. And so,
Sorry.
No, I love it.
That's a lot.
No, I love it, dude. So what is the most amount of money you've made in real estate so far? Well, actually, you've only been in 1 year. So how much have you made so far year to date since like joining the program or since in real estate in general?
Yeah, so revenue-wise, about 93,000 net. To me, I think closer to 70 and some change.
Wow.
However, right now, I have under contract to close in the next 45 days, a little bit over 125,000 in assignments. However, guys, as you guys know, the ones that have been doing this, sometimes things fall apart or sometimes things take a little bit longer. But as of right now, that's what I have right now on track. And hopefully, knock on wood, I really hope it all goes well. For a fact, I do know that next week I'm going to be closing a really awesome deal. I think I told you about it. I'm going to be making about 50,000 on that one.
Yeah. Let's go. So, yeah, the point is, too, the trajectory. Look at like where you've at. Now you're about to do what you've already done so far, you're about to do in the next 90 days because the trajectory is so fast, especially when you look at like the coaching and the different things that you're doing. Like you're doing all of the right things. And so what I look at is the path that people are on and not necessarily where they're at, but if they continue to do what they're doing right now, where are they going to go? So what is your vision? What is your where are you going?
Wow. My vision is that I would like to build an actual operation that does deals without me being present.
Yep.
I look up to you about that. I like what you have going on. I'd like to do something like that. I think I'd like to get into flipping at some point. However, my main thing right now is just to do wholesale, just sales and marketing. And I think, I've also learned from you, just by looking at how much flipping I think really takes from you. Yep. And then I'm kind of like, I don't know if I really want to go that much into flipping. So I think my vision is to have some kind of operation where I'm doing 90% wholesale and 10% flipping. Right? And then from there, then I would just keep maybe 1 or 2 per year if I need to. But really, I don't want to keep anything right now. And also being able to, I think provide more opportunities for more people to be able to have a job, and not just that, but also to have this, mindset about what can be possible and what can be done. Yep. There's somebody on your team that I really look up to too. I think his name is Andrew. Yeah. Man, he's just crushing it. So I'm I want to do the same thing where I can have guys like him that work for me.
Yeah.
And I can teach them and have the same opportunity for them down the road.
Yep.
And I want to be able to get to that point, hopefully in the next 12 months. That's what my goal is. So it's being able to build an actual team, an actual operation that does deals without me being present, and being able to have that opportunity for other people. I think for me, the biggest thing is not even the, money or what you're going to make. That's great. But it's just the fact that, like, I want to be a leader. I love that. I love being in that kind of role where I can serve somebody else and help somebody to grow.
Yep.
That's what my big vision is with that.
I like it. So I was just talking to Ray Rodriguez right before this, actually, and what we talked about is, like, when people see different people like Ryan Pineda and they're like, holy crap, look at where he's at. That's almost too far, Whenever you think about Ed, we find it kind of hard to believe that it's possible for us to get there. And so even when people look at me now at where we're at, sometimes it's hard for me to relate to people in the area that most people believe is possible. And so I love the area that you're in because you're also sharing the path and people can really relate to you and think that it's really possible. So you're now about to make your first $100,000, which is a big milestone for most people. What advice would you give now that you're like basically there? What would you have done differently, or what do you think you could have done better?
I think for sure one thing is to niche down. I think take a few days to really just map out the pros and cons to each one of these routes, because at the end of the day, guys, like, you can make it, whether it's if you want to do just full flipping, you want to just do, Airbnb, like, it doesn't matter. They all work. The real thing here is, like, do you work, right? So niche down first and foremost. Go all in into one thing as your first year. Learn as much as you can when it comes to that. I think in my first few months when I joined, as you know, there's all kinds of calls. And guess what I did? For the first month, I joined all of the calls. And guess how I felt? Overwhelmed. Holy cow, where do I get this whole ball rolling? So really think about the pros and cons on each thing if this is what you want to do, and niche down on it. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to folks that are like, I have a good, social media marketing agency. I talked to one guy right now. He says he was making about $50K per month. Mm-hmm. And he says he wants to get into wholesaling. And I look at him and I say, why? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I heard it's like really good money and I just want, why? You're making good money right now. Yep. Why don't you just really go all into that? And from, $50K, you go up to $150 per month. Mm-hmm. Well, it's just because, look, guys, niche down, and really when you map out those pros and cons, look at where you have like an unfair upper hand, right? Mm-hmm. For me, is sales. I love doing sales. I may not be the best at like Airbnb or flipping, so guess what? Like, why the heck would I go try that? I'm not going to do that. Right. I'm going to go into what I'm good at. So that's the first thing. Second thing I'd say would be to network like crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've reached out to you one-on-one just to make friends, right? I think the biggest thing is you don't want to be somebody who just takes value. Right. You want to give value, but you also want to just make friends with somebody. Yep. Before you start asking about how you're doing it and what's going on with you, why don't you care and why don't you want to make friends with somebody first and foremost? Because then it's going to make the whole process of trying to ask them for help easier, because now they like you and they're going to want to fight for you just like you're going to want to fight for them. I think building an actual friendship with somebody and networking, those two things I would say are the biggest things that I would say to someone that's brand new.
I like it. So yeah, one thing I want to give you a shout out for, dude, is whenever we're on the sales calls. So if you guys are a wealthy investor, we do sales calls on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bryan here came on the call and he was just telling us about, oh man, I think this person's getting a little wishy-washy. I think they might back out. And like, what do I say here? And he already knew what to say. He's a natural salesperson. And so Bryan will put himself in uncomfortable situations. And I think that you react a whole lot better than what you give yourself credit for. So he calls the person and it goes just as smooth as butter. Bryan has handled it amazing, and it was all on the live call while there's 40 people watching. And I've been in sales a long time. It's a whole lot different when there's multiple people there and they're judging what you're saying, telling you what you could have said better. I don't get nervous in sales situations very often, but when I'm in front of 40, 50 people, I get sweaty, I get nervous, and I've been doing this now for about 10 years. Bryan has been doing this for less than a year, and he's willing to put himself in uncomfortable situations. So that's how I know that you're going to be successful, because you're willing to put yourself in the situation to force yourself to succeed. So yeah, I just want to congratulate on that.
Thank you for that. I mean, I think to, give props to you too. Whenever we were on that, you were like, dude, close it, like get it done, close it. And that really pumped me up. I was like, oh my gosh, like, cause it was like 40 some people on it. Yeah. But dude, I mean, I can't let you down. I got to get on this call and just close it. So that's what I just did.
That was freaking awesome, man. Yeah, I love it. That is it. Thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
That was awesome, man.
Nice, man.
Yeah, thank you. Seriously, though, that was freaking awesome. When you did that, I was like, dude, I gained so much respect.